Okay, we've added questions from ExamView to Moodle. We've organized those questions using categories. We've now added the questions to the quiz module so that we can actually deliver the questions to the students. But how do we set the properties for the quiz and establish how we want the quiz to be given? Well, again, let's go back to the page we just left. We're looking at the quiz we built using the random questions. And up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a button that says Update this quiz. This is going to take you to a screen. Click on that. Take you to the screen that if you were making the quiz from scratch, you would see this first. We actually, since the quiz existed, you're seeing this after putting the questions in. But either way, you can do these separate from each other. This is what I call the properties screen. This is where you're going to set the parameters for how this quiz is delivered. So let's take a look at this. Right now we have the name. This is what's on your the first page of your Moodle course. This is what the students would click on to take the test. So I'm going to change this to sample quiz. And since we took Chapter 7 questions, I'll put Chapter 7. This is what the link on the page. Now the next box right here is where the instructions, they call it the introduction. This is what the students will see when they click on it. It tells them what to do. I'm just going to put student instructions so you can recognize it when you see it in Moodle. Now we get to some things that are very, very important. One, I have two choices here, when I can open the quiz and close the quiz. If I want a quiz to only appear in a certain time frame, I can use this tool. Right now it's disabled. It's always available whenever the student wants to take it. They'll always see it. If I don't want the quiz to be, if the student to be able to take the quiz until a certain time, I can make sure that disabled's not checked, and I can actually set the date and time. And so right now I'm going to open the quiz. It's actually 11:05 in the morning right now. If I want this quiz to open at 11:30 and be available, when we look at it, it won't be there for the students. I can close the quiz too, so I can say, if I uncheck disabled, I can actually say that by 1 o'clock, 1300 hours and 30 minutes, there's 2 hours where you can take the quiz. Kind of ridiculous, but I can actually set it like that. Normally you would want to give them like a whole day or a couple days to do that. Or I may say I don't want to restrict the quiz at all. And for our purposes, I'm actually going to disable that so I can show you the quiz when I leave this screen. I can have a time limit. So if I want to enable a time limit, I can say you only have 15 minutes to take this. Let's see here, let me type that again. 15 minutes to take this test. I can put a time delay if I allow them to take the test more than once. I can say I don't want you to take the test a second time for 2 hours, meaning I want you to go back and study. I can also set if I'm going to let you take it an unlimited amount of times, in other words, take the test till you get 85%, I can say I want 4 hours between the third and subsequent attempts so they can study even more. Questions per page. I can determine how many questions. If I want to just have one per page, it gets kind of confusing. Scrolling's okay. I can leave it at unlimited because you remember when we made our test, we separated the essay questions with page breaks. So I'm going to leave it at unlimited, but I can also force it here when I set up the test. Shuffle questions. Do I want the questions presented in a different order? If I'm just giving multiple choice tests, I can say yes, I don't want the order to be specified. And that way, if I only have 10 questions, even if a student is taking it next to a friend, he'll see them in at least a different order. For the test we built, I'm going to say no. I want them presented in the order I put them up. But shuffle within questions. This is great for multiple choice. It defaults to yes. And that is, I can actually have the confounders, the choices, mixed up. So that, when it's A one time they take it and B the next time another student sees the question. How many attempts? If I am giving a final exam and I only want one attempt, I would put 1. If I want to do a quiz where I'm trying, the students are using that to test their knowledge, I may say unlimited so they can keep taking it until they get the right grade. Each attempt builds on the last. I can, normally I want to keep this at no because it would continue to add to it. I would leave that default to no, but you could change this to yes if that's what you need to do. The adaptive mode. Adaptive mode allows the student to take the question again. So each question is like a separate test, and if they get it wrong, they can try again with a penalty. Normally, I don't want that. I'm going to say no, but this may become a very powerful tool if you need that kind of delivery. Grading method. Now, when I'm doing multiple attempts, this becomes a very important choice. It defaults to highest grade, but maybe if they do multiple attempts, I want to have the average grade. So they get a penalty for taking it multiple times. Or I can say first attempt or last attempt. I'm going to leave it at highest grade right now. Apply penalties. Each question defaults to like a 0.1 point penalty. In essence, I could give a SAT style test, an SAT type test, where you are penalized for wrong guesses. I'm going to leave it to no right now because I haven't set the questions to do that, and that would require a little more work on my part to prepare for that. I can also set how I want the grade to be displayed in terms of the percentages by double digits in the grade itself. Now down here, this is the very important part. I have checkboxes to show what I want to show and when. Immediately after they take the quiz, while the quiz is still open, meaning it's still available for taking the test. And if I close the quiz with the date, which I showed you earlier, what they will see when they go to it, they could see their responses and things they've done already. Now this is very important because if you're going to have them retake the quiz and retake the quiz, you may not want to show their responses and answers, or you may want to be more secure on a final exam and not have them be able to tell their friends what the responses and right answers should be. So that's your choice here. Feedback, this one here, the feedback and general feedback, these are in the question themselves. There is a feedback possible for each answer, right and wrong, where you could, if they give a wrong answer on a multiple choice, you could in the feedback indicate page numbers or a topic they would need to go study to do better. So your choice on whether or not there's even something there. You could show their score. So on multiple choice tests and tests that don't require teacher intervention, the score can be calculated automatically and you could show that to them. On our test, obviously, we wouldn't want that because we have teacher intervention on the essay question, so that wouldn't come out correctly. Overall feedback is down below. This is a very, very important tool. I'll check that so we can see how that works. Browser security, we don't have that implemented right now on the LAUSD Moodle server, but there is the possibility of having a special Java browser that will restrict some of the things they can do online. But a nice way of having a test that you may want to have students take the test in front of you, but you still want it online so you don't have to transfer the grade. You could require a password, typing a password in here, and that password would then be available. The students would have to come to your classroom and you'd reveal on the board that what the password is. They'd have to take it in front of you, and maybe you want a final exam, you don't want them taking it at home. That unmasked lets me see what the password is. I'm going to take that away for our purposes right now. Require a network address. If you're really concerned about delivering a test and want to make sure that they're in the room and using certain computers, you can actually put the range. It's kind of geeky, but you can actually put a range of IP addresses in this box, and then only the computers that have those IP addresses would be able to take this test. So you could combine with password and IP addresses. You could pretty much control how a test is delivered. So you could deliver even a final exam proctored because only the machines in front of you in your classroom, and then with the password would be able to take the test. Under the common module settings, one of the most important ones here is the categories. This is if you're working with a working gradebook. We haven't shown you how to do that yet. but if you develop categories, you'd be able to put the grade into that category. Right now, there are no categories in this particular course, so this defaults to uncategorized. And then last is the overall feedback. If I choose to show the overall feedback, I can put instructions in here so that I could actually put something like great job, whoops, go on, you know, and go on to the next test. But I can put a boundary in here and say 85%. Anything below 85%, I want to, you know, please retake the quiz. And let's say anything below 70%, because I'm a tough grader. Please review and retake. So I can have a series of responses depending on what score they receive. Now I can hit down to the very bottom when I'm finished, I can hit save and display, and it will actually show me the test the student will see. And I see student instructions, which we've written here. It gives me, I chose time limit, and then when I go to the preview quiz now, it's going to say there is a time limit. Are you sure you wish to start? And as a student, I would say okay. And then here is my quiz. And I would choose my answers, and when I'm all finished, I would then submit. You see, and of course my essay questions are on their own page, and I have all the HTML tools right here to choose from so I could write my essay answer to this question. Let's go back to course home. This is what the students see. They see sample quiz chapter 7. When they click on that, it takes them to the opening screen, which we just saw. So now we have learned how to import exam view questions into Moodle. We've organized the questions through the use of categories. We learned how to put questions into a quiz, and even when we make the quiz, how to set the parameters and what those mean so that we can actually determine just how the quiz is delivered. Now, one thing I want to point out again, they did in the opening, I'm going to go back to the update screen. Everything has the little question mark with the yellow circle behind it, and that will tell you everything that we talked about in these videos. If you need to review, just click on one of those and it will actually open up a window and explain exactly what that means. Good luck. Let's the best way to do this is to dive right in and start making your own quizzes, even if you just practiced amongst your colleagues, and put them in your course as students, let them take your test.